The city streets glistened after the rain, the golden hue of streetlights reflecting off the damp pavement. A soft breeze carried the scent of wet earth and the faint aroma of blooming flowers. Amid this quiet beauty stood a young woman, her slender figure tense yet determined. Her eyes held the weight of worry. Her father was gravely ill, fighting the relentless grip of cancer, and she had no means to afford his treatment. Across the street, a car slowed. Inside, a young man stared at the city lights with a distant, hollow look. A medical error had just shattered his life. He was told he could never have children. The news had spread through the city, and he sat there, alone, grappling with despair. The girl's gaze met his. She hesitated, then approached him, asking for help. Her voice was soft, but tinged with desperation. For the first time in weeks, the young man's eyes softened. Something in her presence stirred a feeling long buried, a flicker of compassion, a spark of purpose. "I can let you stay at my place for a month," he said quietly. "You'll have a safe place and perhaps some peace." She hesitated, weighing her pride against her father's life. The next morning, she accepted, taking the card he handed her with a cautious smile. Her first day was a mixture of awe and unease. The house was grand, every room echoing luxury and silence. He was reserved, speaking little, lost in his own world of pain. She observed him carefully, trying to understand this man whose life seemed so lonely. Days passed, and slowly the quiet moments began to shift. Small gestures, offering a cup of tea, leaving notes of encouragement, began to bridge the distance between them. She noticed the faint smile that occasionally flickered across his face. He noticed the resilience in her eyes, the unwavering care she gave, not only to her father but to the world around her. Week by week, a subtle bond formed. It was not love at first sight, nor a sudden spark. Trust. Each gesture deepened the bond, until they could no longer imagine the house without the other. In that quiet month, they discovered that love could bloom not in dramatic gestures, but in small acts of kindness, shared pain, and the courage to be vulnerable. By the fourth week, the house was no longer just walls and furniture. It had become a sanctuary. Their bond had grown quietly but steadily, built on trust, understanding, and unspoken support. The young man, once hollow and withdrawn, found himself laughing more freely, sharing thoughts he had buried for years. She, in turn, felt a new strength she hadn't known she possessed, inspired by his quiet resilience. But life never lets happiness remain undisturbed. One evening, news arrived that stirred unease. Her father's health had worsened. She struggled with the weight of guilt and fear, wondering if her time here meant she was abandoning her only parent. He noticed her distress and, for the first time, stepped fully into her world, not as a passive observer, but as someone willing to shoulder a portion of her pain. They spoke long into the night, sharing fears and hopes. She confessed her desperation, her worries for her father, and the uncertainty of her future. He listened with patience, offering comfort without judgment, silently proving that love wasn't just about shared joy, it was about being present in each other's trials. Their connection deepened as they faced challenges together. Simple gestures, a warm blanket, a quiet smile, a shared cup of tea, became acts of reassurance. Slowly, the young man realized that while he had feared losing everything, he had found something far more enduring, a partner willing to stand by him, even when life seemed harsh. By the end of the month, both understood that their feelings were no longer fleeting. The love that had begun as a quiet companionship had grown into something resilient, tender, and irrevocable. A bond forged through empathy, courage. It was softer, quieter, a mutual understanding and respect, growing in the shadows of their individual griefs. Sitting together in the library, walking in the garden, or simply sharing a silent meal, they began to fill the voids in each other's lives. By the end of the month, both realized that this connection had changed them. What began as necessity had blossomed into something neither had expected. A gentle, slow-burning love born from empathy, trust, and shared pain. Days turned into weeks, and the house, once unfamiliar and intimidating, began to feel alive with small moments of warmth. Each morning, she moved through the halls quietly, preparing simple meals, arranging flowers, tidying rooms. He noticed her care, not as obligation, but as a quiet dedication that softened the sharp edges of his pain. They began to share fragments of their lives. At breakfast, he spoke of his childhood, the weight of family expectations, and the heartbreak of the medical report that had left him broken. She listened, her eyes reflecting empathy rather than pity. In return, she told stories of her father, the struggles of their small home, and her own hidden dreams. They laughed together, sometimes over trivial things. A spilled cup of tea, a stubborn door, a book misread. Each shared smile, each fleeting glance, built an invisible bridge between them. Their silences were no longer uncomfortable. They were companionable, filled with the language of understanding. Evenings were quieter still. They walked in the garden, the sunset painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson. Their hands brushed accidentally, a heartbeat longer than necessary. Words were unspoken, but the emotions were clear. A slow, steady stirring of something neither had expected. By the third week, she realized her chest felt lighter in his presence, and he felt a rare spark of hope. Love, subtle and patient, had begun to grow, not rushed, not forced, but inevitable. Each day added layers of grown between them. The news brought a mix of joy and anxiety. She worried for her father, for her own future, and for the uncertainties of what lay ahead. The young man, once hesitant and broken by his past, now faced the responsibilities of fatherhood with courage and devotion. To ensure everything was as it should be, they decided to get her tested again. The results brought overwhelming relief. The earlier fears were mistaken. Life, once uncertain and fragile, now felt full of hope. Their future, though challenging, was theirs to shape together. During this period, their daily lives were filled with quiet tenderness. He supported her with small gestures, preparing meals, holding her hand during moments of doubt, and sharing stories of hope. She, in turn, drew strength from his calm presence, his unwavering belief in them. Together, they prepared for the journey ahead. Love had grown slowly, patiently, and its roots were now deep enough to face any storm. They knew there would be struggles, but with each other, every challenge seemed manageable, every fear lighter. The months that followed were filled with anticipation, love, and preparation. The young woman's belly grew round with life, a living testament to the bond that had blossomed between them. The young man, once burdened with despair, now brimmed with hope and responsibility, his heart fully committed to the life they were about to create together. The birth was a moment of pure emotion. In the quiet of the hospital room, cries of new life echoed, and tears of joy streamed down their faces. Holding their child for the first time, they realized that love had transformed them entirely. Every fear, every struggle had led them to this profound happiness. But life, in its bittersweet rhythm, brought a final test. Her father, whose health had long been declining, passed peacefully, knowing that his daughter was surrounded by love and care. Though grief weighed heavily on her heart, the young man's hand on hers, and shared vulnerability. The month that had begun as necessity was drawing to a close. The young woman had grown comfortable in the house, and the young man had discovered a warmth he hadn't felt in years. Their bond, once tentative, had solidified into mutual respect, trust, and love. They often found themselves laughing over shared memories of small mistakes, teasing each other gently, or simply enjoying quiet moments without words. The man realized that life, which had seemed hollow and unfair, had gifted him someone who made even ordinary moments extraordinary. She, in turn, found a home in his presence, a place where her worries could rest, if only for a while. As the final days approached, they both felt the weight of impending separation. The young woman's father's health was a constant reminder of responsibilities. Waiting beyond these walls, while the young man faced the painful truth that he had grown deeply attached to someone he might not see again. One evening, standing together in the garden, as the sunset painted the sky in soft golds and crimson, they spoke openly for the first time about their feelings. No grand declarations, only quiet honesty. "These days, you've changed my life," he admitted, his voice low but steady. "I never thought I could care for someone like this. And yet, here you are." She reached for his hand, feeling the steady pulse of sincerity beneath his calm exterior. "I didn't expect this either," she whispered. "But I know now. My heart has found a place it belongs." In that moment, both realized that love had grown quietly, unannounced, and completely. It was a love born not of circumstance, but of shared vulnerability, patience, and the courage to open their hearts to one another. Time passed and their bond grew deeper. What had begun as a temporary arrangement had transformed into a steady, loving partnership. The young woman realized she was carrying a new life, a symbol of the love that had quietly, and the gentle presence of their newborn reminded her that life continued, full of hope. Together, they faced both sorrow and joy, realizing that love, patience, and trust could overcome even the greatest of challenges. Their home, once a place of temporary shelter, had become a sanctuary of family, laughter, and enduring love. In the quiet moments, they exchanged glances, smiles, and unspoken promises, knowing that their journey had only just begun. Through heartbreak and healing, they discovered that true love grows slowly, nurtured by kindness, understanding, and shared dreams. And as the sun set on that chapter of their lives, the family stood together, ready to embrace all that the future had to offer.